once told me that when you're in the ring of marriage and you're in the ring of love, it's not you two fighting each other, but it's you two together fighting the issue.
One key mindset shift in life to be a better leader, whether at work, at home, in life, be a better father, whatever it may be, that one shift to start focusing on. I welcome to another edition of Men of Valor, Husbands of Purpose podcast. Today we have something special. We have a brother, Akidagray, that is a life coach, an executive coach, a marriage coach, and you know what? Been married 16 years. You know what I'm saying? So be ready right now. He's about to go in and just bring us some jewels, bring us some wisdom. And this is for those husbands that are called to purpose. You're trying to find your purpose and you want to improve as a better leader, a better father, a better husband, a better entrepreneur. Stay tuned, stay in. We're about to jump right in. Akita, what's going on, my brother? How are you?
What's up, man? Listen, I'm blessed to be here. When you hit me up, Taz, I was like, I got to be on this platform. So I was excited to see your message, man. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Me too, man. A man of many hats. So we're gonna jump right in. So check this out. Let's talk about being married for 16 years. That's a major
Man.
milestone. That's a major milestone. So, what has marriage taught you about leadership, both in home and in life?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, married 16 years, and it's crazy to say that because it really does feel like we got married just yesterday and just time just flies. But marriage can has taught me, has humbled me in a lot of ways, right? And just showing me how important it is to lead, not just for like giving instructions and telling people what to do, but creating a space of safety for my family, right? Creating a space where each and every person under this roof and in my sphere of influence feels heard, right? Feels like their voice matters. And all of that takes humility, right? So I think marriage in itself has taught me to be humble, taught me to be grounded, taught me to lead with humanity, especially with my wife and extending grace, but also to lean on her, right? And not feel like it's just about, the decisions that I have, but I'm now one with this woman, right? So when we go through decisions, when we map out our future, it is a collaborative effort between me and her. And she really is my wife, Tisha. Shout out to Tisha, my boo. But she
Hey,
really
you gotta
is.
shout out. You gotta shout the
If
wife
I
out.
don't, man, I'll be sleeping on the couch. So I gotta shout her out. But no, shout out to her. She really is my good thing, right? And she brings the part of me, a part of our relationship that I cannot bring on my own. So I'm really blessed to have her, but marriage has just taught me about humility, it's taught me about true leadership. Um not the hierarchy type of leadership, but the leadership that really is about keeping your family and your loved ones' best intentions in mind.
That sounds good. And you mentioned lead with humanity. What is that? Let's pull that out right there. What is that?
Yeah, so a lot of times, especially as a marriage coach, when we hear some of the issues and the challenges that couples go through, it's really like, trying to get the other person just to see your view, just to see your point of view and not leaving any space for them to share their thoughts. But it's really like a fight between one another, right? And someone once told me that when you're in the ring of marriage and you're in the ring of love, it's not you two fighting each other, but it's you two together fighting the issue, right? It's fighting the issue. It's how can we come together? So if I make a mistake, right? My wife is not just looking at me and the mistakes that I've made, but leading with humanity, realizing that we're not all perfect and that change, sometimes can take time. Sometimes it's a process. We all grow up with our own experiences, our own expectations of how life should be, how friendship should be, how marriage should be, and we think that that is the end all be all. That's how this marriage is supposed to be. But you have a whole nother person, right? A whole nother set of views and backgrounds that you have to now bring together and see how can we make this work for this new dynamic. So that's leading with humanity, that's leading with grace and understanding.
Leading with grace and understanding. And like you say, bring those different backgrounds in is not what you expect. It's not each marriage is not going to look like what our parents' marriage look like, what our friends' marriage look like, what our loved ones' marriage look like. So, we really have to cultivate our marriage ourselves. We take our experiences, what we learn, bring it to the
Yeah.
pot together and cultivate it. And with that, you touched on a big thing, grace. You have to have the grace, right? How did you learn to have grace? Because I'm pretty sure when you came in, it was blazing. You wasn't fighting the issue. You was fighting you was fighting her. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So how did you learn that grace?
Yeah, and to be honest, like we still trip up sometimes and we still get back to fighting each other, right? But it's something that is a continuous thing that you have to be intentional about and just pull back in the reins. But as far as like grace, I had to understand, and this is from our own marriage counseling and our own marriage coaching that we receive.
Brief interruption, real quick. If you listen to this and you like what you're hearing, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below. Therefore, you're notified whenever we have another Men of Valor, Husbands of Purpose podcast. Also, you can share it out if you find this episode valuable. And fellas, if you're looking to have a deeper relationship with your wife, cultivate more conversations, more intimacy, download our free video guide. It's in the descriptions below, or you can just go to connectionconversations.com, download our free video guide, and start getting more intimate with your wife and just really build that bond, build that friendship, build that love. Go to connectionconversations.com, or you can just click the link in the description. Peace and blessings. Back to the episode.
From our own marriage counseling and our own marriage coaching that we receive was that you have to understand that people are people, right? And people have their own issues that they're going through in their own self-development. It's a constant journey. It's a never-ending journey where we continue to grow, right? And sometimes, we have the expectation that we place on our spouse to be everything and all the things all the time, right? And don't leave room for mistakes. Don't leave room for things just not hitting well or missing each other. And we just create this definitive idea about them, like, oh, you messed up here. Oh, you messed up there. And that's what our focus stays on, right? But when we understand that what we focus on becomes the reality, becomes the constant thing, which can be, you know, a tricky place, right? So we have to look at what is our focus on. Am I just focusing on that I forgot to take out the trash or I forgot to do the laundry? Or am I focusing on the other things that this person is doing well? Like how they, say words of affirmation or how they're supportive and just really like changing our perception of each other.
And the thing is, it's like what you seek, the scriptures say, seek and you shall find, right?
Absolutely.
Knock and it should be open. So if a person's always seeking is when you're focused on something, you're looking for something. So if a person's always focused on the negative, they're going to get more of the negative. They're going to find it and get more of it. So that's one thing I had to do is, sitting with the scriptures and trigger my brain. Let me focus on the good things, not just in my relationship, right? But also in life. Also in life, because where there's
Yeah.
negative, there's positive. Where there's positive, there's negative. We choose what we would like to focus on. And so many times, like we've been taught, the brain is triggered to focus on the negative. The brain is triggered to focus on negative first versus the positive. So, the scriptures say renew the spirit, renew the mind. This is a whole learning process that we got to constantly renew. Like each day we get a chance and opportunity to renew the mind, renew the spirit, and renew our relationship with the Father above, and renew our relationships with, husbands, with that sister that's sitting next to you,
Mhm.
and with the relationships with the people that you come in contact with. So,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree. And what I try to live by is I commit to seeing every situation and every circumstance as an ally. And I know that might be tough for some to take in, what if something really bad happens, or what if I have this bad experience or I didn't get the job, or my wife is doing this or my husband is doing that. If you commit to seeing every circumstance and situation as your ally, then your perception changes, right? Because the Bible even says what the enemy meant for evil, God will use it for your good, right? So even in your worst situations, even in your baddest seasons, right, you can take from that and you can at least learn from that situation. You can better equip yourself. You're building resilience. You're building more knowledge, right? There is a positive in every situation and you can use it to your advantage. Again, it's what we focus on. Because if we come from this scarcity mindset, we're always going to look at every situation as I don't have enough. It's not the way I want it. It's not perfect or those types of things. And then we only focus on things that will reinforce what we're focused on or what we're thinking about.
So
So
for
that's so important.
so for husbands listeners right now, husbands or just men listening right now, so one key mindset shift in life to be a better leader, whether at work, at home, in life, be a better father, whatever it may be, that one shift is start focusing on the positive.
Yeah.
Start seeking the positive, start looking at life like that, and like you say, see every situation as an ally.
Yeah.
You'll find the good and find the benefit, and you'll find that room for growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then you can start seeing situations. I normally even when I talk to other people and thing and marriages and things like that, I ask them, what is this challenge teaching you? Right? What is it teaching you? How is it trying to grow you? How is it trying to develop you? If you and your spouse are not communicating well, then what is that teaching you? Is there a different approach? Or maybe I can try this, or maybe we can start implementing more check-ins with each other. But it is teaching you something. It's just if we're willing to see what that situation is trying to show us.
Now, you're a leader in so many spaces, right? Executive coaching, marriage coaching. You also the founder of the Brotherhood. Like, what
Yeah.
drives you and your purpose to keep moving? Not just saying, okay, I'm doing one thing, but I'm doing multiple things. What drives you? What's the driving factor?
Yeah, so I've been blessed to be connected with some great leaders, some people who have done some amazing things and who had such great hearts, yourself included, my brother, you know, and I just feel drawn, I've been in management and in leadership for over a decade. So that's on the professional side. But my wife and I have also been youth pastors. So we've, have experience working with the youth. And I also look at my father, right? He was a business owner. He was a great dad. And he showed me just from watching him about entrepreneurship, about how he led his family and all of those things. And I feel like it's been called upon me, especially after his passing back in COVID, just to carry on that legacy of leadership, right? And what I've learned in management. And I really truly have a passion to pour back into leaders so that they can be their best selves. Leaders is a tough place to be in. Leadership is not easy. It's not let me just give demands and people just listen to me. That's not what true leadership is about. It can be very lonely, right? And especially the higher you go up in whatever position or ever role, it could feel like a place of solidarity. Like you just don't have many people that you can trust. So what I try to do is, from my experience, from my the gifting that I have, is to really be a guide and a mentor to people in leadership.
So, being a mentor, a leader of the leaders, wow, essentially a leader of the leaders, or we can say a servant of the leader, because we know
Yeah,
that when someone's a leader, you're basically a servant. So,
absolutely.
what would you tell like a husband, someone that's listening right now, that is like leader, executive, or they may not be an executive, they may just be a manager in a job, or just, they may be a leader in a church, right? It doesn't have to be at a job. What would you advice would you give them right now where they're trying to balance that as well as balance a household, a wife, children, such as yourself, such as myself? Like, what would you tell a brother listening right now?
Yeah. And I know the term work-life harmony has been thrown out there. Work-life balance has been thrown out there and used a lot. But what I like to say is work-life harmony, right? Because it's unrealistic to think that you'll have a balance between the two, like it's going to be equal. That's just not the reality that we live in. And there are going to be moments where you may need to spend more hours at work or at the church and then have to prioritize spending more time with your family and all of those things. So it's how do we navigate that, right? And figuring out what takes priority, what's in the most need right now. um, and it will be a shifting thing, right? It's not like set in stone. It will take some adjustments. It will take some pivots throughout your life. So I think thinking about it as work-life harmony and not work-life balance. um, and I always go back to, like, what are your values? What is your mission, right? What are your values? What do you hold dear, right? And that will show up in your life, in your professional and in your personal life, right? Because you're connected and you're sticking to those values regardless of where you are and whatever role you have.
And how do you help men create that harmony, that work-life harmony? How do you help them out with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, scripturally, we know that our household is our first ministry, right? And our first priority. So, me personally, I focus on what is best for my family. And part of my values are valuable time to spend with my family. So, impactful connections with them, and leaving a lasting impact with people. So what I asked them to, what we talk through is just basically how can you prioritize your family so they don't feel neglected, right? A lot of times we feel like we don't have enough hours in the day, but in most cases it's just not being able to manage our time well, right? So how can we block out time to spend with my family? Do you have your time with your spouse on the calendar, right? And making sure that there are no other distractions, and that is just you and your spouse's time to spend, you and your wife's time to spend with each other. Um, and also, like, making sure like you're not bringing all of your work home with you, right? I know some people, they may be working around the clock or they may be salaried or things like that. But prioritizing your time is key.
That's one thing I'm still, working on. I guess all of us are still working on that because, like they say, life be life and things happen. Like you can
Yep.
have your schedule, but then something else happens. So it's like,
Yep.
I've been trying my best to stick to my schedule, but every now and again things get thrown in. It's like you got to just, run and deal with it. And that's what the one thing about leadership, you have to be able to adapt. Leaders have to be able to adapt to any circumstance.
Yeah. Yep. They certainly do. And that's where the harmony comes in, right? Because sometimes it will need to shift and things like that. I think one key thing though is that when something like an emergency or a quick change needs to happen, that we don't forget about those people who are most important to us. For instance, if you had a date scheduled with your wife and something came up, you can't have the date that day. Things happen, but how do we circle back, right? How do we reschedule, making sure that this is not forgotten about, that it's still a priority. We can't do it Thursday. Okay, that's fine. Let's do it Saturday, or let's make sure we do it next week. But it needs to stay top of mind, so that your wife knows that or your spouse knows that they are a priority to you. Spending time with your kids, all of those things.
And sometimes brothers need that accountability, accountability from another brother to help them stay on track, to help them stay on target. Because sometimes, like, when you're out there by yourself doing it, like you say, leadership gets lonely. Not only leadership gets lonely, but husbandry gets lonely sometimes, fatherhood gets lonely sometimes. So it's important for people to come together of like minds to strengthen each other, to hold each other accountable, and to motivate each other to continue going that way. Because if not, negative is always out there. We just said negative is always easy to find. So having an important community, a brotherhood, you know, is going to help any man continue to move forward to have a better relationship with their wife, a better relationship
Mhm.
with their, in their career, a better relationship with their children, and a better relationship, with God, and a better relationship in life, period, right? So community is very important. And, myself, I'm building a community, Men of Valor, Husbands of Purpose, you know, and you have a community that you founded, the Brotherhood. Let's
Yeah.
get into that brotherhood, and then after that, we're going to talk about Bridge to More. I love that name, Bridge to More. We're going to talk about, what is that bridge to more? What is that more? What is that bridge to get you there? But first, let's go with the brotherhood. Let's talk about your program, your community.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So this is one of my newest babies that I'm kind of bringing life to. The Brotherhood, it was a concept that came to me. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie The Forge that was in theaters, but that's kind of where I got like an inspiration from this. But it's really a platform and a space for brothers, older men and also younger men, to come and find support in each other, right? And it has a focus on mentorship. And that mentorship is about daily life, it's about manhood, it's about managing your emotions, it's about planning for your future and your vision, it's about financial literacy, how to tie your tie, how to go for an interview, all of those different things. Like we provide support for each other and resources for each other that is 10 times harder when you're just doing it alone. And a lot of us men feel like it's just us. We're all alone. We're the only ones experiencing this. We're the only ones going through depression and stress and anxiety, and all of these other things. The weight that a man carries, I don't even know if it could be fully articulated. The things that we think about, the things that keep us up at night, and to do that alone is so hard. It's so hard, and it is a priority. It's critical to have a space like the Brotherhood where men can come and iron can sharpen iron, and we can lean on each other, not only just to be vulnerable and feel safe in our vulnerableness, but also for accountability and have someone to push us to drive for more in our life and in our purpose.
Now, how do people find the Brotherhood? Where can they find you at, or information about the Brotherhood?
Yeah, so you can reach me on my Instagram, which is Akida, Akida underscore official. So that's Akida underscore official. Right now, we are based in North Carolina. We are planning on doing some virtual options, just based off of need. So those who are interested, DM me, let me know that you're interested. You could just put Brotherhood or shout me out there, and I can give you more information on that.
What made you decide to step in and fill that gap? That gap.
Yeah. Yeah. So I personally did it because I wanted to provide a space for my son. Right. I have two sons. One is older and one will be 14 soon. And I knew it was important for him, not just for the time that he spent with me, but also for hearing wisdom and everything from other brothers out there, being connected with some other men his age, some other young men his age, and experience different things. Like we do exercises, we go and do different types of team building events and things like that, and then have a discussion afterwards. Me and him, we recently went on a 10-mile hike, and that was the
I
greatest
saw that.
experience.
I saw
Man,
that.
let me
I'm
tell
like,
you.
I'm like, oh, you did that.
Let me tell you, it was crazy. And I feel like I'm still trying to heal from it, but no, but it was such a great experience, and I wouldn't have changed that for anything. Just what we were able to do together brought us closer, and I was able to see my young boy like practice resilience and leadership and growth and such a maturity that outside of that I might have never seen. So I wanted to be able to create that same experience for other young men out there, some personally that I know don't have the option of having that type of father relationship, right? And that mentorship relationship. So it's really about pouring back into the community, and changing the perception of what manhood looks like.
Let's talk about that 10-mile hike. What's one thing you learned? What's one thing you learned from that 10-mile hike? I'm pretty sure it's several,
Yeah.
but what's one thing, one jewel from that?
Yeah, so there was a lot. But I think, well, I'll say two. I think one, you would be surprised how your children practice maturity and practice resilience and strength when you give them that opportunity to do so. I think that, was a great testament and a great, example of what our kids are capable of doing when we give them the space to do it. So I think that's one. And the second thing was just in our own lives, sometimes we feel like we're walking on a hike and we're going forever and everything looks the same. Doesn't look like anything's changing. But there's a picture that I posted on social media where it showed where we were, where we started, and then where we wound up, where we ended at. And it was just such a great revelation that sometimes we need to look back. Sometimes we need to see how far we have come. And although it looks like nothing has changed, you haven't gotten anywhere, if you just look back and reflect, you can see how far God has taken you.
Yeah, sometimes that's the hard part. That's really the hard part, especially like, if you're facing certain circumstances, whether that's, personal circumstances or issues with the wife or, children, work, whatever. Sometimes it's hard to do. And I think that, well, not that I think, I know that sitting sometimes in a place of prayer and just reflecting, you can and will see how far you've come. And I like when it's a saying that says, I ain't, how does it go? It's like, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm far from where I
Mm.
used to be. So
Amen, brother.
it's like, so we got to
It's
start.
so simple, but it's so powerful.
It is. So we got
Yeah.
to start sitting in that space right there. There's a book about it. I forgot that, The Gap or something like that. It's a business book where the guy is speaking about, a lot of people focus on the gap in the game. I forgot the author, but
Yeah.
it's a business book. Someone
Yep.
speaking of the gap in the game. Some people they look at the gap, like how far they got to go, right? To
Yeah.
to, to
Yeah.
whatever that to whatever that goal is, versus
Yep.
looking back, look at the game. Look how far you've
Yeah.
come. The Gap in the Game is a good book. It's a business book, but it's also about, just in life general. I forgot the author, but
Yeah.
it's a great book right there.
Yeah, no, that's good. And it really is, it's a thing where two things can be true at the same time, right? Yes, there's still a lot of ground to cover, and yes, you have came a long way. So it's about how do we find space to celebrate those small wins to keep you motivated and to keep you focused, right, on the bigger picture here.
Now, speaking of the gap in the game,
Mhm.
we're gonna look at a gap real quick, so we could talk about your bridge to more. You like that, right?
Yeah.
there? You like that
The
right there?
segues, man, are like top tier, bro. I'm loving it, man.
The bridge to more. Let's speak about that. What is bridge to more? What is bridge to more?
Yeah, so Bridge to More, I'm the founder and CEO of Bridge to More Executive Coaching. And the name Bridge to More, it represents meeting leaders wherever they are in their leadership journey and creating a bridge to more and whatever that looks like for them. So a bridge to more self-confidence, more team understanding, more empathy, more executive presence, whatever that is for that person, we meet you where you are and we work with you to create a bridge to more. And I love that, that branding because it speaks to just everything that I'm about, talking about that grace, talking about, being in a non-judgmental place, but really just guiding that person with accountability and empathy, right, at the same time, so that we can help them get where they need to be.
Nah, that's dope right there. Bridge to more. I love it. And once again, they can find you on social media at Akida_official, correct?
Yes. So that's on my IG handle. For more of the business stuff, you can reach me on LinkedIn as well. Akidagray on LinkedIn. You can DM me. You'll see a lot of my coaching content there as well. We can talk about whatever you need. I have discovery calls, free discovery calls that I can schedule with you and find out, where is your bridge at, right? And where do you need to go? And we'll be there to help you.
Now, you've been featured in Bold Journey magazine. Also,
Mhm.
you work with Cornell University on their We Lead program. You're the
Mhm.
founder of the Brotherhood and you're founder of Bridge to More. Out of all of that, what is your proudest moment so far and why?
Yeah. Honestly, I would have to say my family. I would have to say
Mm.
my family first. My wife is doing some amazing things. She's going to get her therapy license, and so she's back in school again. I know how hard that could be, but I'm proud of her, and I see her resilience and just the level of excellence that she brings. My kids are doing phenomenal. They are starting their own businesses. One just graduated college and got their degree. Another one is doing pre-college prep work, and I have another who is going to medical school, and another who is starting their hair business. Another one has a photography business. So I'm just really proud of everything that they are accomplishing and doing in life, and it makes me like feel, like something of what I've done mattered, or that it has been helpful to them. And I'm just really grateful to see what they're accomplishing. Um, but I mean, outside of that, I think just the spirit of coaching, right? And I feel like that coaching shows up in so many places at Cornell, at with the Brotherhood, with the marriage. It's really about helping people be themselves, their best selves.
Got it. And I like the way, I put everything out there and you took the focus off all your everything you got going on personally. You said, it's my family. It's
Yeah.
my family. That's big right there.
Yeah, that's my legacy, man. So I'm really, really proud of them and just humbled to have been a part of their life journey.
Now, we've spoken about community, we've spoken about growth, and one thing that you mentioned, in our pre-interview communication, you talked about self-care. You
Mhm.
know, what's what does that look like? What's one action a husband or father, a man can take right now as far as self-care and how to be consistent in that? Because sometimes we get caught up. We get caught up.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I'll say is probably the thing that we struggle with the most is that we have to prioritize ourselves. You have to prioritize yourself. We push a lot of stuff to the side. We push a lot of the self-care to the side and just focus on who we're in charge of, which is great. But you have to make yourself a priority. Because here's the thing, if you don't make sure yourself is a priority, you will get burnt out, you will get stressed, you will have anxiety, and you won't be able to show up for those under your care the best way that you can, right? And if you do, you won't last long enough to see the fruits of it, right? Or to be able to value and be there for those moments. So you have to provide self-care, whether that's exercising, right? Mind, body, spirit, right? So making sure that you are active, making sure that you're a healthy lifestyle, right? We talk about a Christ lifestyle. I know you do your marriage thing, but you have to have a healthy lifestyle, right? What books are you reading? Making sure that you're taking time to exercise your brain, listening to music, spending time with those close brothers of yours, getting counsel and having those things that pour into yourself as you're pouring out yourself to those in your nucleus.
And what's one thing that you do as far as self-care?
Yeah, so I do exercise. I love to exercise. I do cycling. I picked up cycling,
Oh
Taz. So
man, okay, brother. All right.
I I'm just like beat myself up here, man. But listen, like, cycling is no joke. Cycling is no joke.
I
It'd be
tried it.
me.
I tried it one time. I went to like a planet. No, I went to a gym or something like that and tried it. Man, I was
Yeah.
done. I said, man, I liable to fall out. So I don't need it no more. I can't do it. I can't
Yeah,
take it.
yeah. So I do a lot of that. I'm like on a health kick right now, so I'm eating a lot of greens, making sure I'm taking care of my body, and that can sometimes affect your mood. And also like, just making sure that I'm reading God's word, making sure that I'm seeking God's face. Me and my wife and I are doing these affirmations for the next 40 days, speaking over our finances, our vision, and all of those types of things, and having scriptures that align with it. So it's just, different ways that help you bring peace to yourself and clarity to yourself, and not just feeling like it's draining you, but energizing you.
Got it. And the affirmations that you're doing is something that y'all created. You looked it up. You purchased like some affirmations, or is just the spirit just leading you?
Yeah, so we just we had some things that we're believing God for in the new year. And we just, looked at some scriptures that align with those things, like vision and your finances, and knowing how to be good stewards, and what God's word says about giving, that we should have an expected end, that we should be blessed, pressed down, shaken together, running over, like those types of things that speak to what God says about those situations in our lives as His children. So. It has been great. And again, talking about perception, it has changed what we're focusing on, right? And a lot of times, what you're focusing on, you start to see more opportunities for that. You start to see more open doors for that. And it just all aligns with where God wants to take you.
Glory to the Father. Glory to the Father.
Amen.
Last question. Maybe. I don't know. But if you could leave husbands, brothers, men with one final piece of advice to strengthen their relationships, whether that's in their leadership, whether that's in their purpose, whatever it may be, what would that one key piece of advice be?
Yeah. Well, we talked about grace, right? And extending grace to our spouses and other people and things of that nature. I would say, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. You're doing better than you think you are. You're not alone. And I guarantee you that 5 out of the 4 people, if not all five, are going through the same things that you're going through, have been through the same things that you've been through, and you'll make it through, right? But you have to give yourself grace. Stop trying to be perfect, right? If your homeboy is doing it, or your cousin over there made it big, or this person is doing that, great for them, but don't feel like you have to imitate everything that everybody else is doing. You have your own journey, you have your own path that God has placed you on. And it's really about, someone once told me that if you focus too much on the past, that can bring depression. If you focus too much in the future, that can bring anxiety. You have to be present in the moment and enjoy the ride, because the journey is the fun part, right? Figuring out things, overcoming things, building resilience. So have grace on yourself, and allow God to lead you.
That sounds great, Coach Akita. Gray, this has been great. I'm going to link everything, your details, how people can contact you, find out more about the Brotherhood, find out more about executive coaching, the Bridge to More. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Thank you once again for coming on. I appreciate you, brother. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. And once again, this has been another edition of the Men of Valor, Husbands of Purpose podcast, where together we lead in life, love, faith, family, and purpose. Peace and blessings.